Hello again, everybody. Well, about a decade ago or so, I was out swimming at a lake west of St. Louis. And for those of you who are from the area, you know the place I'm talking about, Lake St. Louis. And it was out of the big lake. It was the day before the annual triathlon. Unfortunately, they don't do it out there anymore, but it was always one of my favorite triathlons out there at Lake St. Louis. And because I am the world's worst and slowest swimmer, whenever any race gives us the ability to do a practice swim the day before, I'm all for it. I take advantage of it. So sure enough, this was on a Saturday. The race was on a Sunday. I drive out there, get my stuff ready, and jump in the water. And I started off too fast, too quick. Heart rate goes way up. Breathing gets labored. Like, oh no, I hate this. If I was running or biking or anything like that, that wouldn't bother me. If I started off too fast, I would just kind of work my way into it and stay at that higher level for a while until I kind of got into the zone. Because I'm not comfortable in the water, it's not that easy. I didn't grow up around the water. I'm not confident in it. I didn't start swimming until I was 50 years old. That is a true story. Now, I can swim, but I'm just not very good at it. I don't have the style down, the technique. And when you get out in a body of water, try this if you have never competed in a triathlon. Hundreds of other people all splashing around you, climbing over you. I've had my goggles knocked off my head, and you're not a very good swimmer. It doesn't go very well. So on this particular practice swim, no, none of that part was happening, but there were still a lot of other swimmers out there. But now I was starting to panic a little bit. I can't get my breathing down. And I went into full panic mode. This is still hard sometimes to talk about, but I actually envisioned a split second, not only drowning, but attending my own funeral. I kid you not. While I'm struggling in the water to catch my breath and having a full-blown panic attack, I am now picturing my wife and 2 kids looking down at my casket. Now, that thought only probably lasts a quarter of a second, but you know how the brain can work, and you get these visions that come at you very, very quickly and very vividly, and that's what was happening. Now, let's take a little break. Let's get our breath back, so to speak. Obviously, you know how the story turned out. I didn't drown. I'm here, right? We're going to circle back to it and kind of tell you how exactly what happened, but I need to give you a little context and a little background here, and I'm going to be somewhat vulnerable for those of you who don't know the story. At age 20, I was diagnosed with general anxiety and panic attack disorder, and I got it very honestly. It's genetic. It's on my biological father's side, and I started having these debilitating attacks at the age of 18 when I was a college freshman at Mizzou. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it, but it would come out of the blue, whether it was in my dorm room, whether it was in a classroom setting. I could be enjoying a movie at the theater. I could be getting my hair cut. Yes, I used to have some of that. At the grocery store, out of the blue. And all of a sudden, I had these thoughts that I was going to go crazy, that I was going to start foaming at the mouth. Everybody would look at me, maybe even make fun of me. I would fall down, have some kind of epileptic seizure, and then I would be carted off to the mental institution where I'd spend the rest of my life. Folks, I'm not messing around here. I know it sounds ridiculous. It does as I'm even saying that. I think I'm a smart guy. And I never talked about that, ever talked about it, because I always thought it was a sign of weakness somehow. And I didn't even understand it until I finally went and saw a counselor at the age of 20, and the guy diagnosed it right away, and then started to ask about family of origin, and we tried to finally figure that out. Okay, so now that we have that as context, let's go back to the story. So here I am having this panic attack about a decade ago, which I hadn't had in many, many, many years. Thought I was over it. Here we come again. So I get my head above water and I start doing the side stroke, right? Like this. So I'm breathing like this, trying to do some positive self-talk. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And then I hear this voice up and over behind me. And it's just a very pleasant voice. And he says, "Hey, buddy, you doing okay?" Now, some of you are probably hoping, is this a supernatural story? Did the heavens, nothing like that. It was a real dude. He was some lifeguard on a kayak. That's why I love these races that have all these lifeguards out there, and it makes me feel very comfortable. It's my security blanket. I always know where they are. I always know where the buoys are, and they are trained. He clearly had spotted me, right? He had eyes on me, and he's thinking, okay, this guy seems to be struggling. I better kind of slowly go over there. So I look up at him, and I was embarrassed. I'm not going to admit, I had this panic attack. I think I'm dying. My family's going to go to my funeral. No. So I make my way over to the kayak. I hang on with my right arm, and I make an excuse. And I go, my goggles, somebody kind of hit them. And they got knocked, and they're getting water in. He's like, okay, buddy, it's all right. If you just want to sit here for a while. I'm like, yeah, just give me a second. I'm getting my breath down, getting my mind right, and then the positive self-talk came back. And I just looked at the buoys. I was about 2/3 of the way through the practice swim, and I just thought, okay, just go to the next buoy. If you have to hang on to that, get to the next one, and then you're going to be back at shore. And that's exactly what happened. Now, that's not really the end of the story, though, is it? I had to come back and race the next day. How do you think the rest of my day on Saturday and my sleep went on Saturday night? This is what is classically called the fear of the fear. I knew it well, and it was hitting me big time in the 24 hours before the race. It's not so much the fear of the swim. If you have some kind of anxiety or panic attack disorder, what you fear is the fear of all of those feelings that you had. It's the fear of remembering that you are at your own funeral. It's the fear of thinking that you're actually going to die. That's what you fear as opposed to just the swim itself. And I was struggling with that for 24 hours, didn't sleep at all. But here's something else that's very, very important to me, and it's really the gist of this episode, this podcast. I learned early on in this journey of mine to have this as my mantra. Seriously, if I ever had something tattooed across my chest or my forehead, it would be this: feel the fear and do it anyway. Let that wash over you for a second. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's what I told myself as I'm on the shoreline at Lake St. Louis, remembering what I went through yesterday. It's okay, buddy. You can't pull back from this. You can't quit. There isn't quit in me anyway, and I'm thankful for that part of my genetics. I don't know where I get that, but I was not about to kowtow to this demon of mine. We all have our cross to bear, and this was mine. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And I'm proud to say that the swim went off beautifully well. I was a little faster than I thought. And then I did very well in the bike and run, and I finished at the top, near the top of my age group. The fastest race I ever had in Lake St. Louis. Isn't that something? There's one of the lessons to be learned, right? Haven't you ever been through this where you fear something so much, but you can't ignore it? You've got to go through it. And then you're on the other side of it, and you're thinking, why did I worry so much about that? It wasn't a big deal. You know, if I was ever asked to speak to a group of high school students. I'm a Wentzville high grad back when there was only one. So if they called and said, Dave, speak at our high school graduation, I know it'll never happen, but I do think about these things a little bit. You know what I would talk about? It's this. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That would be my theme. Telling these young 18-year-olds, 19, 17, whatever, to say that you are going to have a lot of stumbles in your life. And you may think you don't want to go down that road again. You failed last time you went there. You have a lot of fear last time. And what I would say, you feel the fear and you do it anyway. Fear is a great motivator, but you have to learn that it's also a great inhibitor. What I've learned is you can't put up your dukes and say, okay, here comes that fear. I'm going to fight it. It doesn't work. You know where I finally kind of had my breakthrough when I was a younger man is to accept it. not just feel the fear and do some task. But when you have these feelings, these anxiety, these anxious moments, even to the point of having a panic attack, what helped me finally break through and not be affected by them to the same degree is just to say, oh, here you are. Welcome. You're my partner. You're my life partner. So come on in, have fun, look around, do your thing. I'm a little busy right now. I can't spend a lot of time with you. But after you've done whatever you need to do, just please close the door and leave. Does that sound silly? It sounds ridiculous, but it works because it takes away its power. It takes away its fangs. When you actually take fear and make it your partner, it's unbelievable what we as humans can do. I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast the other day. Bono was the guest. I think most of you know Bono, the lead frontman for the great Irish rock group U2. And because of copyright and stuff, I can't show you the whole snippet, but I want to show you a couple lines here real quick. Bono starts off by saying, "We know that failure is how we succeed." And Rogan follows up, "Yeah, pain is fuel. We know that pain is the most potent fuel, the most potent inspiration known to man." And then Bono went on to quote a famous Irish poet who lived a century ago, Samuel Beckett. And Beckett wrote this: "Ever tried, ever failed. No matter, try again. Fail again, fail better." By the way, I just did a podcast about this, right? About the combination of government now getting involved more in private industry and how I am totally against that. We've got to let things fail. Go back and check that out, if you will. But Samuel Beckett, perfect line. He gets right to the heart of it. Don't be afraid to fail, because then you'll be afraid of life. So as I wrap this up, I know what some of you are thinking. Okay, when's this guy getting to something about investing? I get it. I'm going to fail you a little bit to that regard, all right? Every once in a while on the Simon Says podcast, I want to go a little bit in a different direction and just give you some life lessons. Do you realize that if I had been doing this podcast, if it existed 10 years ago, and certainly 20 and 30 years ago, if such an animal existed, I would have never done something like this. I already said I was a little embarrassed by it. I always saw this kind of as a sign of weakness. That's ridiculous. It's like saying it's weak to have a broken arm or something. We look at physical maladies and we don't think that's a sign of weakness, but something up here, we think, oh, the guy's got depression. He's got anxiety. He can't do this. He can't. That's not a sign of weakness at all. It just took me, unfortunately, I'd get mad at myself about this, way too long. Now I'm to an age where, first of all, I don't care what others think like that anymore. But more importantly is this: we are all souls here to better ourselves. But more importantly than that is to help others around us. I have found that when I tell parts of my personal story, the eyes can light up and go, that's what I'm going through right now. That actually happened to me a number of years ago as I was telling my story. And this woman started tearing up. I didn't know if she was tearing up because she felt sorry for me. No, she said, oh my gosh, God put you here at this moment in my life. I'm suffering from panic attacks. We counseled each other for a long time. That's the beautiful thing about opening up and being vulnerable. And this all gets back to bigger life things. What I talk to you every week about is investing. And this doesn't have to be some specific thing in your life. This is a big part of everyone's life, is money and how you treat money and how you grow it. And part of that is who you are up here and who you are in here. So I like to be very holistic in my financial planning. And I like to be very holistic in what I provide to you each and every week on the Simon Says podcast. I really hope that what I have talked to you about and been vulnerable enough to share with you is going to help somebody out there right now. Or you know somebody, oh my gosh, that's you know who over here. This person needs to see the podcast. By all means, leave comments. You can find my email as well if you want to send me any personal questions on this. It's very simple. It's dave@1pwm.com. I'd love to hear from you, all right? I hope that helps, folks. Thanks for taking time to tune this in each and every week, and we'll talk to you again next time.